There is a chimpanzee in Wauchula, Florida, who once sat courtside at NBA games, traveled internationally in private jets, attended press junkets in Tokyo, wore matching outfits with the most famous human being on the planet, and appeared in photo shoots that ran in magazines across the entire world. He was more famous than most CEOs, more photographed than most politicians, and more recognized globally than virtually every other animal alive at the time. His name is Bubbles. He just turned 43, and he spends his days painting in a sanctuary, quietly, away from every camera that once could not get enough of him. Shh, turn the volume up, but keep it low. This is Rap Deepest Secrets, the one place the labels can't control, exposing the codes, the cover-ups, the real cost of fame. Now, back to the video. Now, most people hear that and think, "Aw, that is sweet. What a wholesome ending." And on the surface, it is sweet. It genuinely is. But if you sit with the full story, the part before the sanctuary, the part nobody really wants to examine too closely, this is not just a feel-good update about a famous chimp. This is a story about what happens when the entertainment world decides a living creature is a prop, uses it for everything it is worth, and then has to figure out what to do with it when the show is over. Stay with this until the end, because the twist is not what happened to Bubbles. The twist is what Bubbles' life, all of it, from Neverland to the sanctuary, quietly reveals about how we treated him the whole time. For anyone who needs the context, and full context matters here, Bubbles the chimpanzee entered Michael Jackson's life in the mid-1980s, when Jackson was at the absolute peak of his global fame. Thriller had just redefined what a pop album could be. Michael Jackson was not just the most famous musician on Earth, he was arguably the most famous human being on Earth at that particular moment in history. And Bubbles was right there with him. Not metaphorically right there, literally. He traveled with Jackson internationally. He attended recording sessions. He was photographed with world leaders and celebrities. He appeared in media coverage that reached hundreds of millions of people. He wore clothes. He ate at the table. He was, for a period in the 1980s, treated as something between a companion, a child, and a cultural statement, a living, breathing piece of the Michael Jackson mystique that the media absolutely could not get enough of. Japanese media coverage of Bubbles during Jackson's 1987 tour reached levels that were, by any reasonable measure, extraordinary. The chimp was not a background element of the Michael Jackson story. He was a foreground element, a character, an icon in his own right, recognized, discussed, and photographed with the same energy that the press reserved for actual celebrities. And then, somewhere in the early 2000s, he was gone. Quietly, without an announcement, without a farewell tour, without any of the fanfare that had accompanied his entire public existence. He just disappeared from the narrative, and most people who noticed did not ask too many questions about why. Bubbles has lived at the Center for Great Apes in Wauchula, Florida since 2005. The center is a legitimate, accredited sanctuary that provides lifelong care for chimpanzees and orangutans who have been rescued or retired from entertainment, research, and private ownership. It is not a zoo. It is not a tourist attraction. It is a place built specifically for animals like Bubbles, animals who spent years in environments they were never designed for, serving purposes that had nothing to do with their natural existence, and who needed a permanent, protected space to simply live out the rest of their lives. He is now 43 years old. For a chimpanzee, that is genuinely old. Wild chimpanzees typically live into their 40s. Chimps in sanctuaries and protected environments sometimes live into their 50s. Bubbles is aging. He has lived longer than most chimpanzees ever do, and according to the people who work with him daily at the sanctuary, he has settled into the kind of life that looks, from the outside, remarkably peaceful. He is reportedly a leader among the other chimpanzees in his group at the sanctuary. He has social bonds with the other animals. He has routines. And yes, he paints. Actual paintings with brushes and colors that have been sold to support the sanctuary's operations. Bubbles the chimpanzee is a working artist in his retirement, which is either the most poetic ending imaginable or the most quietly revealing detail in this entire story, depending on how you think about it. Recently, Jafar Jackson, son of Michael, visited Bubbles at the sanctuary. Photos and updates from that visit gave the public a rare, current look at how Bubbles is doing. And the answer, by every available measure, is, well, he is doing well. He is comfortable, cared for, and as close to thriving as a chimpanzee who spent his formative years in the entertainment industry can reasonably be expected to be. Stop right here, because what comes next is the layer of this story that the feel-good coverage skips over entirely. The part that makes the painting and the sanctuary and the peaceful routine feel not just sweet, but necessary, overdue, a corrective to something that should never have happened in the first place. Before we get there, subscribe to the channel right now. Hit the button, turn on notifications. This is the channel that does not just update you on where a famous animal ended up, we ask why the journey looked the way it did, and what that says about us. Subscribe, then stay, because the twist changes how you see every photo of Bubbles from the 1980s. Here is the part that the birthday headlines and the wholesome update posts are not saying.
Bubbles did not choose any of this. Not the fame, not the travel, not the matching outfits, not the photo shoots, not the NBA games or the Tokyo press tours or the Neverland Ranch or any of the extraordinary, surreal, deeply human experiences that defined the first 20 years of his life. He was a chimpanzee, a highly intelligent, deeply social, emotionally complex animal, placed into an environment that was designed for and by humans, serving a function that had nothing to do with anything a chimpanzee is built for. Chimpanzees in the wild live in complex social communities. They develop bonds over decades. They communicate, grieve, play, and age within a structure that their biology evolved to support over millions of years. None of that was available to Bubbles during his years with Michael Jackson. What was available was human attention, human affection, human environments, and human schedules, all of which, however loving and well-intentioned, are not what a chimpanzee needs to develop and thrive as a chimpanzee. The reason he ended up at a sanctuary in 2005 is not complicated. Chimpanzees become increasingly dangerous as they mature. An adult chimpanzee is several times stronger than an adult human and can cause serious injury without intending to. The entertainment world and private ownership model that had made Bubbles famous simply could not continue once he reached adulthood. The show ended because the animal grew up, and growing up meant he was no longer safe to keep in the environments he had spent his entire life in. So here is the twist. The sanctuary is not the happy ending to a fairy tale. The sanctuary is the correction. It is the closest thing to an appropriate life that Bubbles can have now, after 2 decades during which he was given everything except the one thing he actually needed, which was to be a chimpanzee among chimpanzees, in a world built to his biology rather than to human celebrity. The painting is beautiful. The leadership role among his group is genuinely touching. The fact that Michael Jackson's estate continues to fund his care shows a kind of loyalty that is real and meaningful. But all of it exists in the shadow of a simple question that nobody in the feel-good coverage is asking. Who benefited from Bubbles' first 20 years, and who paid the cost? Look, this is not an attack on Michael Jackson. His relationship with Bubbles appears to have been genuinely affectionate, and the ongoing financial support from his estate reflects a real commitment to the animal's well-being. The love seems to have been real. The problem was never the love. The problem was the framework. The framework that said a chimpanzee could be a companion, a prop, a cultural statement, a celebrity accessory, and that the animal's needs could be met within that framework because the human providing the care was wealthy and well-intentioned enough. That framework was wrong.
It was wrong when it was happening, and it is wrong now. And the fact that Bubbles ended up at a sanctuary, that his life required a correction, a rescue, a protected environment specifically designed to give him back some version of what was taken, is the evidence of that wrongness, sitting right there in the middle of the feel-good story. The Gen Z generation has seen enough animal content, enough wildlife documentaries, enough sanctuary rescue videos to understand instinctively that a chimpanzee in matching pajamas at an NBA game is not a wholesome moment. It is a red flag dressed in nostalgia. And honoring Bubbles' 43rd birthday properly means being willing to hold both things at once, the genuine affection and the genuine harm, without letting one cancel out the other. He paints now. He leads his group. He is comfortable and cared for and as peaceful as his particular journey through the last 43 years can produce. That is genuinely worth celebrating, and celebrating it honestly means acknowledging exactly what it cost him to get here. The honest friend take. Here is the lived truth about this. When we love something the wrong way, when we bring it into our world, dress it up in our image, make it fit our needs, and call that love, we are not serving the thing we love. We are serving ourselves, and the thing we love pays for it, sometimes for decades, sometimes for an entire lifetime. Bubbles is thriving now because someone built him a world that actually fits who he is. That is the lesson underneath the birthday post and the painting hobby and the sanctuary update. It's never too late to correct the framework, but it's always worth asking, honestly, without the comfort of nostalgia, what the framework cost before the correction was made. Happy 43, Bubbles. You earned every quiet day of it. Bubbles, the chimpanzee, just turned 43. He paints, he leads, he lives peacefully in a sanctuary in Florida, while Michael Jackson's estate makes sure he is comfortable and cared for. And underneath every wholesome detail of that update is a story about what the first 20 years of his life actually looked like and who it actually served. The painting is beautiful, the sanctuary is real, and the question of what we owe the animals we make famous is still very much unanswered. If this channel is where the feel-good story becomes the honest story, subscribe right now, hit the notification bell, drop a comment. Do you think Bubbles' life with Michael Jackson was a privilege or a cost? Because that question does not have a clean answer, and this community does not pretend that it does. See you in the next one.